Hi everybody, welcome to video 2, unit 11, our geometry unit. If you don't have your notes packet, please go ahead and get it now so that you can follow along. All right, so what we have here are a bunch of definitions and a couple of examples that you need to read through and go through and try to practice them and try to see if you can memorize these definitions. So we have vertical angles, two angles whose sides are raised in the same line but in opposite directions. Okay, so our vertical angles have equal measures. So we can see right here, angle AOB and angle DOC, those two are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. Then we have this definition, complementary angles. And complementary angles are two angles who add to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles are two angles who add to 180 degrees. And if you look here at example 1 and example 2, they have two different word problems with complementary and supplementary angles. So you need to read through these and see how they set it up because we're going to do some word problems in this section. Okay, so let's go to the next page. So we have here, they give us this diagram and they say, assume the measures of AGH and DHG are equal. Okay, so let's take a look. List all the angles with measures equal to the measure of angle EGB. So first I'm going to mark EGB on my diagram. So EGB would be this angle right here. So they want all of them equal. Well, we can find its complement or its vertical angle, which would be AGH. So angle AGH. But if we look at the directions up here, it's that AGH and DHG are equal, which means DHG is this angle right here. So we know that's also equal to it. So DHG. And angle DHG also has a vertical angle, which is right here, angle CHF. So those are all the pairs of angles that would be equal to one another. All right, it says list the angles supplementary to CHF. Well, supplementary angles are angles that add to 180. So we're looking for two angles together that would make a straight line. So if I have angle CHF here, then that means this angle right here, CHG, if I put those two together, I'd get one straight line. So this one would be angle CHG. So together, those would be supplementary. But remember, CHG has a vertical angle, which is right here. So if I put CHF and DHF together, that would also make a straight line, which would make it supplementary or 180 degrees. So I have DHF, so also angle DHF. And I know that's kind of small to write in. Okay, so let's pause the video and see if you can do numbers 3 and 4. Okay, so for number 3, I got 60 degrees because those two together would be supplementary. And for number 4, AGE and CHG would have to be both 140 because they're in the same position. All right, so number 5. This is a word problem, so we have to set it up. So we have to define some variables here. So it's saying the smaller of two complementary angles is 20 degrees less than the larger. Find the measure of the two angles. Okay, so we know complementary is going to add to 90. And we know something about the smaller. So that means we're going to say let x equal, so let x equal the larger angle. Okay, and then since it says the smaller is 20 less than the larger, we're going to say let x minus 20 equal smaller angle. All right, so now that we have that set up, we know they're complementary. So we know that the larger x plus the smaller x minus 20 equals 90. So complementary means they add to 90. So I'm going to add my like terms. So 2x minus 20 equals 90. I'm going to add 20 to both sides. So I get 2x equals 110. I'm going to divide each side by 2. So I'm going to get x equals 55. So it means the larger angle is 55 degrees and the smaller is x minus 20. So 55 minus 20 is going to be 35 degrees. So there's my two angles. Now, I didn't leave a lot of room to do these, so I'm sorry. So you might want to do them on a separate sheet of paper. Pause the video, and then I'm going to write the answers here. But if you need to see the work for them, go to the notes answer key, and it has all of my written work, okay? So pause the video and try 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so here are the answers for number 6. We got the smaller angles 30 degrees, larger angles 50 degrees. 7, the angle would be 121 degrees. For number 8, that is the measure of an angle that is twice the measure of its complement. So that angle would be 60 degrees. And find the measure of an angle that is a third the measure of its supplement. That angle would be 45 degrees. So if you want to see the equations, the work, defining the variables, please go to the notes key, and all my work is there. I just didn't do it here because I didn't have enough space. And again, you might want to read on the page above this the examples on how to do the word problems. All right, so let's take a look at example 3. So this is, so it's another word problem that you might want to read through and see how they're setting it up. But we do not need to do, you can do these problems if you want to practice them, but I'm not going to ask you any of questions like these for what we're doing. But you can if you want to practice them. All right, so the next thing we're talking about here are triangles. And again, we have a page with some vocabulary. So you want to read through this. And you've probably heard of a right triangle, isosceles triangle, an equilateral triangle, okay? So if you want to look at the diagrams, kind of memorize the vocabulary and the diagrams. And then we have another example that you might want to read through to look at how they solve for x. All right, so right here, the measure of two angles of a triangle are given. Find the measure of a third. So you have to remember, triangles add to 180 degrees. So you want to say the third angle would be x. So we could say here, x plus 35 plus 65 equals 180. And I know you can probably do a lot of this in your head. So you want to say, okay, x plus 35 plus 65 equals 180. So you want to add 35 and 65 together, subtract from 180. So we get x plus 100 equals 180. X plus. So if we subtract each side by 100, and I know there's not a lot of room here, we get x equals 80. Okay, because remember, all three angles of the measure of a triangle is 180 degrees. So that's what you're going to do for all these ones. You're going to say x plus 110 plus 40. So solve for x. So it equals 180. Remember, a triangle equals 180. So pause the video and see if you can solve. Okay, so for number 2, we got 30 degrees. Number 3, 54 degrees. Number 4, 69 degrees. 5, 119 degrees. And 6, 41 degrees. Because remember, all three angles have to add up to 180 degrees. All right, so for this next one, you're going to want to read this example, the converse of the Pythagorean Theorem. And we already know the Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And if that holds true, it is a right triangle. So if we go to page 8 here, it says, use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem to determine whether or not the triangle is a right triangle. So we need to plug it in and see. So remember, the longest side is the hypotenuse. So you want to say 16 squared plus 12 squared is equal to 20 squared. And again, there's not a whole lot of room on this, so you might want to do this on a separate piece of paper and then come check. Okay, so we have 256 plus 144 equals 400. So then 256 plus 144 is 400. So we have 400 equals 400. And so it works. So it is a right triangle. So right here, you would say yes. For number 7, yes, it is a right triangle. Okay, so what I want you to do is pause the video, try 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you can check my answers with all my work on the notes packet. Now, my answers, I did them on a separate sheet of paper because I did not have enough room. So you are probably going to want to do the same thing. Take out a separate sheet of paper and see if you can solve 8 through 12. Okay, so here are the answers. 8 is yes, 9, 10, and 11 were no, and 12 was yes. Again, try to do the work on a separate sheet of paper. You can check all my written solutions on the answer key for the notes packet. All right, so let's take a look at the next part here. So again, here's the example of the word problem that they're doing. So you might want to read this example and then try it. Again, there's not a whole lot of room here, so you're going to want to do this on a separate sheet of paper. All right, so it says if triangle STU is a right triangle with angle T at 90 degrees. So we need to draw that out. So I'm going to draw this here. Here's 90 degrees, and this is angle T. ST, so we're going to say angle STU. So here's STU. Okay, then we can fill in what we know. Angle T is 90. The measure of ST is 12, so that's going to be right here. ST is 12. Then it says SU is 15. So this is 15 right here. And then it says find TU. So I'm going to make that X. Well, since it's a right triangle, I know I can use the Pythagorean Theorem. So I can say X squared plus 12 squared is equal to 15 squared. So when I go ahead and solve that, I have X squared plus 144 is equal to 225. I need to subtract 144 from each side. So then I get X squared equals 81. And then remember, I'm solving for X, so I need to take the square root. So X equals 9. And I only want the positive answer because a triangle cannot have a negative distance. So here's my answer for X, so is 9. So I can say TU is equal to 9. All right, again, there's not enough room to do this. Do this on a separate sheet of paper. If you look at my answer key, it has all of the answers, and I did them all on a separate sheet of paper. So I want you to go ahead and try to do the rest of these problems, 14 through 23. Again, with this one, they've already drawn out the right triangle for you, so you can go ahead and plug in the lengths that they give you, and then you can solve for them. But check my notes key. It has all of the answers with the worked out solutions on a separate sheet of paper. You should also be doing this on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, so we're going to stop the video for right here. Next time I'll do triangle word problem.